Now that PTC has moved to a subscription, they are focusing on annual releases. So Windchill 11.2 is the latest. There are some critical patch sets that have taken place since then, but 11.2 is the last with feature updates. The next version expected out is actually version 12.0, so it'll be a major release, and that's expected this summer. We'll just be going through basically the differences from 11.1 to 11.2. So if there are questions about 11.1, we've done a previous session on those features. You can find that on YouTube. I'm also happy to share. And today is just going to talk about the new things in just this latest release. So just very quickly, we are from Elite Engineering Services, and here's just kind of a quick sampling of some of the things that we do. Obviously, we are focusing on Windchill today, so I'll talk a little bit more about that. We are a supplier for Windchill, or a partner of PTC, meaning that we can sell the licenses, and we also provide the services that go with it, along the lines of what you see here. But then we actually use Windchill in our factory as well. So the things that we're talking about, various functionality of Windchill, the new updates that you see, those are things that Elite is, of course, concerned with, and that's how we learn and share our expertise, is that we are using Windchill ourselves. So with that quick intro, I will actually now pass the ball over to Cody Wiltrout from the PTC Virtual Center of Excellence, who is going to be telling us about the new features of Windchill 11.2.
All right, thank you, Stuart. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So nice to be here with you all today. As Stuart has mentioned, I'm going to be talking about some of the updates from Windchill 11.1 to 11.2 and what's kind of looking forward. So starting off, one of the general groupings that we've added some updates to is with CAD part usability, or CAD to part usability, I should say. So the first step in that being the ability to do a save as for attributes. So now when you do a save as for your CAD parts and you are creating those new duplicate versions, you can actually edit attributes between the two and make sure that when you do that save as, the new version has not only that new naming convention, but also whatever those new attribute values are that you've assigned to it. You also have the ability to save and share views based in context, and so this is just looking at any type of information in Windchill. If you have a specific view that you want to share to someone based off of their role, their context that they're looking in, and different things like that, you can share that information and share those views. This is something that you could do slightly in Windchill before, but it's now been expanded out across sites so that you can share that further and more easily with people. You also now have multi-state representable visualizations, and what this means is if you take a look in the bottom right-hand corner here, you can see we have an owner part, and the owner part has two sub-image links to it. So these could all still be the same part, just some tubing that we have, and it's identical tubing, so we're happy with that. But in terms of visualization, maybe this is going to be bent in a specific way for this assembly here. And so we can see an example of what that would look like otherwise, where they would just have three straight tubings if it's just giving the same visualization to all three instances. But now you have the ability to do kind of this multi-state representation so that you can look at the different sub-images based off of different configurable options, for that same item. We've also seen some updates to our security for intellectual property protection. We now have the ability to do multi-value security labels. And by that, what we mean is, in the past, you've always had the ability to create a lot of different security options and security controls based off of context, based off of someone's role, different types of things like that. And you could say maybe specific security labels for engineers versus designers versus manufacturing, whatever it would be. Well, in the past, you had to assign one of those role value or one of those values that you wanted to set, so based off of what types of restrictions you wanted. But now you can actually overset those and overlay those and use more than one. So if you want to apply more than one security label, more than one security option, you can do that, and it will follow both of the rules there. Moving on from there, a pretty big update for Windchill 11.2 is the ability to use PartsLink for document classification. So PartsLink has been something that's been around in Windchill for a while for being able to manage and better describe, common parts like nuts, fasteners, bolts, washers, whatever it would be like that, or maybe some consumable, purchasable items like capacitors or whatever it would be that you might buy from a vendor or a supplier. But you now have further capability to be able to utilize that for documents as well. And just like with the normal parts link for parts, you have the ability to set what classifications you want, set some of those attributes that you want to define those document types, and then be able to use that to either scroll and browse down through or to be able to more quickly search for and find exactly the documents that you're looking for. And just as an example here in the classification tree, you can see maybe start with the general high-level document, then down to control documents, records, work records, training, whatever it would be. You set those classifications up based off of whatever types of documentation you have and whatever the best organization style is going to be most useful for you. AR Design Share is something that was fairly recent to Windchill, so for anyone who maybe has not seen some of our last iterations on this, it gives you the ability to take CAD from inside of Windchill and publish it to an augmented reality experience natively from within Windchill, and then people can do things like view that in real space through an iPad or a phone, like in this image here for this Polaris snowmobile. So it gives designers the ability to do some design reviews, share off that information in a secure manner, and then get some feedback on maybe how that would work in its actual location, how it fits into a space, whatever it be. Do those reviews, look at that information, and be able to collaborate more extensively. So with the latest version of Windchill, we have seen some enhancements to that. They've enhanced the personal manager to it, so it makes it easier to control who you're sharing that with, any security settings you want on those. If you wanted to add in some additional notes and text, you can do that now. So it makes just that whole operation a little bit smoother there and gives you some more control. They've also made it just sturdier in general so that it can be enterprise-wide for that support to be able to share off as many designs as you want and be able to really get that feedback there. And then lastly, we now have the ability to support the HoloLens. So in the past iterations, you could, again, use a phone or a tablet to be able to view that. Starting in version 11.2, you can utilize a HoloLens, which is going to make it a more immersive experience, really be able to see things around you in full kind of spacing and to scale, and then get, again, more in-depth feedback on how something's going to work in the location that it fits in, how it fits in that space, just general design review information, and then bring that information back into Windchill, iterate on those designs, and keep making improvements. We've also seen some changes to the bill of materials management, and we now have the ability in 11.2 to do plant-specific BOM creation and management. So this is just taking things a little bit further than the filtering in the past. So you can create bills for each specific plant location, and then kind of sub to that, you can have specific attribute management. So if you have purchasing in the two locations, maybe those are pulling from different vendors or different manufacturers due to their locations. Or if you want to have different, or I should say if you do have different machines operating in the different manufacturing facilities, well, when you get down to those process plans and things like that, and you want, different instructions based off of which version it is that you're looking at. And so you can now do that and assign that based off of what plant someone is viewing that from. And that's going to be tied to their user role, so you can make sure that they're looking at the right information. We've also seen some improvements with the integration to Creo Illustrate from this. So before you had to use the Workgroup Manager to connect to Illustrate, it's now a direct integration. And with that, then you can start utilizing things from Creo Illustrate in your process plans. So for those of you who use NPM Link, you know that you can start from your design bill, push that downstream to your manufacturing bill, and pass that information back and forth and use that manufacturing bill to then start building out a process plan. And you can use Creo View to be able to create steps or figures that you can use for those process plans, but you can now also utilize Creo Illustrate, so you can get a little bit more advanced in some of those views that you're looking at, some of the markups and things that you're putting into there, any of the figures and steps that you can create in Creo Illustrate. Now you can take those and utilize those for your associated process plans in Windchill. So again, just really helping you to reuse some of your data and giving you more options there to help build out a more robust process plan and work instructions based around that. We also have seen changes to some simulation. So natively, first off, we have the ability to do a workgroup manager to manage that Creo Simulate data. It's like we always have. But now with Creo Simulation Live, that's some more information that you're going to be keeping track of. But in this case, because of the way Creo Simulation Live works, it actually is going to store that inside of the Creo file. So it's not going to be its own separate save file. And so it's going to be managed inside of Windchill, just like a normal native Creo file would be. And you don't have to worry about any changes to that process. As for other simulation tools, we're trying to set out best practices to leverage Windchill collaboratively and use project management capabilities to help set some cycles on that. So just, again, setting best practices up for our users to be able to use different types of analysis tools and really embed analysis as part of their design process. And even looking forward further with that, talking about managing some of that in project management and maybe Project Link to be able to share that information and set a plan or schedule. ThingWorx Flow could be a great way in the future to be able to do some process management with Windchill for things like ANSYS and be able to get just good workflows in how that should be done and how that should be managed. So something that we're going to keep working at and keep improving on. And speaking of that, looking forward to what is going to be new in Windchill as we continue to invest in it. Number one, we're always looking to improve manufacturing and engineering. So some of those core capabilities, managing the CAD data, being able to manage that bill of materials, the plant-specific editing now. We always want to try to make that a smooth transition for our designers down to manufacturing and really keep that thread tied between the two so that no information is lost, and we're going to continue to work on that as we move forward. Something else that's going to be coming forward is change intent in planning, so something almost similar to markups for change management, where you can denote what you plan on changing before you do it for people to review and move forward with or choose to make other changes to. And of course, as I just mentioned, we're going to keep working with simulation data and simulation data management. Starting in the next release of Creo, we're starting to look at bringing in AIM technology from ANSYS. And as we do that, we're going to keep pushing the edge on managing that data and making sure that you can really utilize those up-and-coming technologies and still be able to manage it in the same way that you would some of our classic technologies as well. And lastly, as noticed here, AR is something that we want to try to integrate further with PLM and continue to provide you with excellent capabilities in that. And as we continue to work on our augmented reality tools, we're going to continue to embed more capabilities and features into Windchill that you can then utilize with your data. So with that, I look forward to talking to you all again whenever we do the next major release with Windchill 12, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about at that time as well. Stuart, I don't know if there's any questions that came through, but...
Yeah, thank you, Cody. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them into the chat session. We'd be happy to answer them. While we wait to see if there are any, just quick review. As you saw, Windchill 11.2 is the latest. Navigate 8.5 is the latest there, and new releases are expected on a regular cadence for all of the various tools. So for Windchill, 12.0 is expected, I believe it's end of June, but I know it's in the middle of the summer. And then Navigate, we're expecting the next version in April. So didn't talk too much about Navigate, but it is definitely a part of Windchill, so that's certainly an interesting part to keep in mind. And as the two tools progress together, the various updates kind of add new functionality together as well. So what you're seeing here was Windchill 11.2 and kind of the assumption of the most current version of Navigate as well, which is 8.5. All right, well, I don't see any questions coming in. If anyone does have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to answer them. And as Cody said, we look forward to talking with you again. We'll be doing, when the new releases come out, we'll do a little showcase to show here's what's new in the next version. So we're happy to help with that. And if anyone does need anything else regarding any of the PTC products, please don't be shy. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Have a nice day.
Thanks for your time, everyone.